And this is Yabu 7 with some underground world news live here on this December 23rd, 2016. Joined here with B. Rich, Erick M, Into the Stars, and Mr. Anderson. And I hope all of you out there are having a good weekend, a good start to the holidays here. We got a lot of different stuff we're going to talk about here. And as always, you can find links, all the stuff we're going to talk about in the description box. And give me just a minute here to pull up main page, check the chat. And I keep seeing Justin Woolley. And guys, I'm playing a little bit of catch up myself. Been on the road and literally stormed back 20 hours, unpacked, throw it all on the floor, and playing catch up. But with these guys around, they got me caught up to speed here. I got a bunch of different stories here. These guys are going to update on some of them. Shout outs to everybody out there in the chat. What's up, KK, J Mac, JR, 20, Life of Cow, Kriegsfolk, Kathleen, Life of Cow, Q City, 20G, Kyle Dewey, Constructile, Alan, Mary, Stellar, Kat, Kenny, MN, Life, all y'all, much love. And let's get this ball rolling. Welcome to the show. This is, well, what they call Christmas Eve, and also the most busy traveling day of the year. So anyone out there trying to do some last-minute shopping, I'm sure it's going to be a little chaotic. Traffic that I seen today, just in normal, what should be normal areas, was pretty thick. I could tell people were out scurrying, trying to get stuff last minute, and people hitting the road to be with the family. But I want to thank everybody once again for showing up. If you guys get anything breaking, see anything going on, let me know in the chat. As far as Woolley, like I said, I just got tidbits of what happened with him. I'm not sure. I have to find out. I have no other details there in regards to that. So did this account get wiped out? It's kind of what I feel you guys are hinting at. And for those that missed it, over on my other channel, Dabu777, put out a couple videos here earlier. One, important in regards to this gun grab, and really it's Obama. If you guys noticed how he's gone into overdrive with these memorandums and executive orders. I mean, he really has. This latest one is an amendment. Want to say something, Casey?
No, I was just agreeing with you on that.
Well, this latest one is an amendment to 2007 NICS Database Act. This is this criminal background check system. And basically, anytime you go to get a gun, they run you through this. But they're saying that they have these new final rules. And what they're doing, and what they do is they reference Title II of the Social Security Act and SSI. And they're saying that if you are an individual that receives disability insurance from either of those, and you get payments under any of this, and you match other criteria that they don't speak any of the criteria. They're very vague about it. Like no details. But they've got some kind of system that if you match, they're going to flag you, say that you are mentally impaired. And as soon as they say that you are mentally impaired, you can no longer have a gun. And they go on to say that they're going to explain to you that this is part of the Gun Control Act. and that because you spent some time in a rough situation, maybe in Iraq, where they sent you, they think that you may be showing signs of this or that. Basically, any of our vets that have any kind of training, anyone that could train other people, it feels like they're going after them big time. And I mean, think about it.
Yeah, I had a buddy about 5 years ago, and he was on Social Security disability, and they sent him a questionnaire during his audit. I guess every couple of years they'll audit, and they asked him about if he had owned a weapon, and I thought that was odd. And then I put it all together. I was like, man, this is real. Like, basically, when you're on Social Security disability, they require you to have a payee to handle all your financial affairs. And then what they say is that you are incapable of handling your own affairs. So they force you to have a payee, which basically is consenting to knowing that you can't handle your own affairs because you have the payee to do it. They'll either appoint one for you or you can choose one. But either way, you're consenting to the fact that you can't handle your own affairs. And then they wrote that into that law that you just talked about. They wrote that exact verbiage. If you're not able to handle your own affairs, then you cannot own a weapon. And they got these guys coming back from the Gulf War. They got these guys
PTSD or whatever. Is that it?
Right. Exactly. They got these guys coming back that just served their country. And now all they got to do is say, hey, if you want your medications, if you want to feel better, you have to basically get on these medications. You have to go to a doctor. And then at that point, you've basically given up your rights to own a weapon. It's unbelievable.
It really is, man. Sheepdog was talking about that. And he was also talking about, when they go in there, they're sticking you with all these different needles, all these different vaccines. When you sign up in the military, you're like a guinea pig.
Oh, yeah, that's where they do all their testing.
You don't even know what they're sticking you with.
Yeah, they get those guys overseas. The first place they're going to do some of these tests is on these government employees who basically, when you enter the military, you sign away all your rights.
Right. You're like, property of the U.S. government.
Oh, I can attest to that.
Which is a corporation.
In the military, it's just, they just shoot you all day long. There's shots, the plague. I mean, the plague hasn't been around for ages, and just all kinds of shots.
Right. Yeah, it just seems to me that any of the guys that have any intelligence as far as training and survival and anything like that, all these guys that went out there to defend our country, those are the guys that are going to have the knowledge to train communities and other people on how to survive, on how to do things, everything that they were trained. You see, and it's almost like they want to strip them of even being able to defend themselves. Which, I can see in some instances that people, if someone has, because there is going to be people out there that have a problem, but it's like using that excuse against a bunch of people that it doesn't apply to.
I mean, yeah, it's all by design. There's no doubt about that they wanted to disarm all veterans coming back from these conflicts because they're the ones that are experienced and have the training. And so what better way to do it than just slap a label on them and get everyone else to feel afraid of these people by characterizing them in Hollywood roles as crazy lunatics, like in Rambo. That was the first one that came out a couple decades ago, characterizing all veterans as crazy lunatics that are just about ready to go off, fly off the handle and shoot up everybody. And, and then we go and support that in Hollywood when we go watch those movies. And that's exactly what's going on. It was all by design.
Yeah, and I was talking the other day how they were slipping stuff, as I put out a video talking about how they were slipping stuff into the NDAA in the House and the Senate and pushed it through. And here, Obama just signed it. He wants to sit there and say all this crap, like, oh, he's not going to do this or that. But then he signed it. Says, oh, I'd rather sign it than let it become law without signing it. Going against everything he was saying before. And it's just, they're all two-faced. He basically came out and stated that they're now going to use $619 billion This is just coming from where? Taxpayer money and everything else. This is what they're doing with their money. And they're also going to boost and increase the troop numbers. At least 23,000 is what was projected. I left a link in the description box. You guys can read up on that in regards to Obama. But he's constantly signing these memorandums. Somebody tweeted out something earlier about him. See if I can find it here and read from it. About what he was doing with Social Security and another office. He did this before. He was basically saying that if people do not show up for DHS and these other places, very important agencies within the government, that if the people there do not show up, all right, it's a presidential memorandum providing an order of secession. Okay, that's what it's called. And he did this, like I said, for DHS. You can go back and look over at whitehouse.gov, all these different things he put into motion in regards to this. But now he's added the National Endowment for the Arts and the Social Security Administration to this. And it basically is saying that if someone at the very top dies, is assassinated, doesn't show up for work for whatever reason whatsoever, that there is a chain of command, the next people need to step up. And it's very suspect because never have I ever seen a president put so many out affecting so many different agencies right at the end of his presidency, basically ordering other people to step up and fill the shoes of the leaders if they're missing for whatever reason or don't show up. He just keeps adding them. There was 2 more December 23rd. So
that's weird for sure. And you mentioned the NDAA Act. We should just rename that the Fake News Act, because that's exactly what it is, legalizing fake propaganda.
That's what they tucked into it. That's what I was saying. Yeah, that's the part. And what did they use the excuse of? Russian propaganda, all this other crap. And it has everything to do with stripping your freedoms and nothing to do with that crap. This is the world stage. You prop Russia up to be the boogeyman. You know, I seen this little video clip earlier. Normally, you know, when these clips of when they're showing ISIS burning these people and doing all this other crap, I decided to watch the clip of the 2 guys that they had chained and had burned alive. But before that, what they were showing were all these different attacks. Where trucks were pulling up, just blowing people away, and they were launching shoulder mount missiles at tanks, just blowing tanks away. And they were pretty efficient at what they were doing. And I got to thinking about it after they moved on to the next piece. I was like, man, this is all put together so slick. And I kept watching, and something the whole time didn't set right with me. All the way through the guys burning them. They even took gasoline and dumped it on them at the end. And I couldn't help but feel that it was fake. I have no proof, but I just had the feel that I didn't just watch 2 men really get drug out, is standing there, a chain get lit, slowly start burning. They never try to turn around, put it out. The whole thing, they didn't react the way that I would picture someone fighting for their life to act. And I want people to realize that it's not just Hollywood that puts out slick movies that look very real. It's done globally. And for crying out loud, we just witnessed them trying to stage children victims in Aleppo. And before that, I put out a clip, maybe it was the J9 channel. It was CCTV footage of a street where guys rolled up to an old car. They blew it up. And the next thing you know, in come an ambulance and a bunch of other vans. People jump out. They jump on the ground and act like they're hurt. The cameras start rolling. They start dragging the bodies away. That is the crap that is happening. I'm telling you. So anything ISIS is putting out saying they burn these guys alive, that was like, remember the one, and we proved this to be fake. At the time, they're like, oh, they're just conspiracy theorists. But then later on down the road, it was proven that they were fakes. The 8-foot ISIS soldiers, like down by the beach, they were marching guys down all in the red suits. Every one of the ISIS guys were like 8 feet tall. And none of it made any sense because they screwed up in putting the whole thing together with the proportions of everything and some other details with the beach and other things, and end up getting picked apart. And that is something Fox News and every other mainstream media outlet pushed upon all of you and the masses as truth.
It was heavily photoshopped.
Heavily.
Not even just Photoshop, but green screened as well.
That was one of the key things with that. Right.
I think you've pointed out some anomalies with the assassination of the Russian ambassador. That one doesn't.
Yeah, the guy's just sitting around at the table in the background. The guy casually adjusts a picture on the wall. I mean,
looking the wrong way.
Yeah, not even paying attention to
the shooter.
Not even looking at him, and all these things are so suspect. And that guy himself, and they say he was a cop. He was an asset. He was an agent, is what he was. And to me, it really looked like from the outside. Who was he supposed to be anyway? The first impression I got is that this was from the West trying to piss off, spark confrontation between Turkey and Russia. And the more I looked at it, I was like, this just seems so staged. So staged. I mean, they got the camera, dude just drops. I didn't even hear the gun go off, but I'm not saying it didn't, but I just remember seeing the guy, his body drop. And
but his body dropped instantly, and that's very rare. I don't know if he's shooting like a 9mm, but he would have had to have severed his spinal cord with the first shot.
Yeah, there had to have been some kind of reaction or something. I mean,
it's just not. It didn't sit well with me either.
And when those things start to happen, when things are not sitting well with you, that means someone's trying to tell you something's not right. And I run a lot off that vibe of things, even with people. When I come in contact with them, just the energy and the vibe and what they're, someone could sit there and talk, but I can sit there and start to see what they're really after. But it's about discernment, using discernment with everything, especially with the news. And we are in that time where we must be doing something right, because they've gone out of their way to create this whole fake news meme and to set it out there and bait it out there with Pizzagate and everything else and try to destroy everyone. But really, to me, they failed miserably.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on 1 second. Question. I kind of wasn't here for the past 45 seconds that you were talking, but did you mention the thing with the Russian ambassador about the footage itself?
I never got a chance to see the full. We were just talking about it. Yeah, but I didn't have a chance to see the full footage.
Let me find it really quick, and I want to do a screen share. I'm not going to play the footage, but I just want to show something.
Don't show the dude on the ground either.
Oh no, it wouldn't be the guy. It would be the ambassador, because from what I know about the whole thing, it's completely fake.
Well, it's exactly what it feels. I mean,
can't find the video. I guess they take it off of YouTube. But
that's what I didn't want to happen, because that's what they will do. I don't know if you remember, but in that France thing, I showed a clip where no blood, no gore, no nothing, anything. It was just of it before a guy was killed, or supposedly shot and killed in the street, a cop, where he was supposedly shot him at point blank range, and there was no blood, no splatter, the head didn't get blood, nothing. Like, I froze the frame before any of that happened, and they still wiped me on it.
Well, with this guy, for any of you that's watched any type of WWE or anything like that, when they get knocked out, they're like laying down like a starfish. It's not realistic,
right?
But this Russian ambassador, when he got shot, he's in the same exact position.
Right.
Nobody falls down after just getting shot multiple times in a starfish.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna kneel over. You're gonna reach for the wound or something, unless like he said, it was a direct shot through the hip, through the brain, severed the spinal cord, or through the heart, something like that. Did we ever find out how many times did he shoot him?
I believe it was 4 times, but even still, if he was to shoot him like that, he would have fell directly to the ground and stayed in position what he laid in. Not would have rolled over to go inside of a starfish position. That's not a natural position for the body.
Right. That whole thing had a very off feel. It goes right into the same category as the whole France and Germany stadium events, where France had their thing and then it happened to Germany and then they all of a sudden it didn't. Very weird crap. And even
the shooter looked like something out of a movie. I mean, the guy looked like he was James Bond or something.
Right.
I was like, what? He had like makeup, perfectly groomed.
Those guys in the background at that table, just immediately when I saw that, I was like, what the? I was like, this just isn't right. Then I heard that there was another ambassador that died at the same time, a Russian ambassador that was found in his home with a gunshot wound, a bullet hole in his head. No witnesses, no accomplice caught. They found the gun underneath the sink in the kitchen. It didn't make no sense. And never heard any more details of it. Not a word. And apparently his wife was there in the flat with him, but in another part of it. And they had got her to safety, they said. I'm like, hold on. Didn't you interview the woman? Get some details? Like, this doesn't even sound right. Like, come on now.
Also, what got me too.
That wasn't an ambassador. That was just a diplomat. They never have identified exactly his status.
Right.
Yeah,
no update.
Also, what got me too with the whole thing was Des, and I know you're in such a chat. Shout out to you for pointing that out. The guy who did the shooting. Well, I know he was a police officer. I know he had a handgun. I don't know exactly how much bullets the thing could have inside of it, since he maybe had to get stuff that the normal citizen can't get.
I'm not sure.
But he fired a couple warning shots before he shot the ambassador multiple times, and then after that shot 3 other people. That's a lot of bullets without reloading.
Yeah. It just makes no sense to me, man. When people start firing rounds, people run. That whole room was full. You guys were just hanging out. They're kneeling over a little bit, and this net is still hanging out in the room. The other guys look like they were sitting there waiting to get drinks.
Yeah,
it's like...
your point, your main point there was they were looking in the wrong direction.
Wrong direction. And weren't even looking at the shooter. Get out of here. You're not running or even paying attention to the guy that's dropping bodies.
Well, I know somebody just got shot right in front of me. I'm either looking to see if the attacker left so I can help that person, or I'm running for my life.
Right.
And it's important to look and examine why. Because it's easy for us to look at the footage and pick it apart. But when we understand why they would fake something like this, then we get down to the incentive for them to do this. And that is to create fodder, to fill the roles, recruits for their armies, Russia, Turkey, United States. When they show these kind of graphic things that people either are really going to believe it or they're going to totally discount it, like we are. The people that believe it, that can cause people to go sign up, and fuel the war between the countries, so that people are motivated to go sign up for war. And then we just become fodder for their sacrifice, basically.
Right. And you need to pay attention to Europe, folks. What they're doing there is setting the stage. You need to pay attention. And, if you look at what's happened, and this is taking everything in from what I've seen, with George Soros and his minions sending all these migrants in all these countries, because the European Union basically flattened their borders. And it was so easy for people to roam about within the union that here, even with this most recent staged event where the dude drove the truck into people in where again? Germany. Well, I say it all the time. We'll keep your heads up. Germany, France, they're always in the crosshair of these staged events. Once again, same thing. And the guy just so happened to leave an ID there and disappear. Well,
quick thing with that as well. Remember the incident inside of Turkey in front of the stadium? Well,
yes.
I don't know if you saw the footage, but I have footage on my YouTube. It was weird because The police are there. They're like in the middle of the road doing traffic or whatever. Then this guy walks into view, pulls out an assault rifle, and then just starts shooting at people. And the cops are just looking at him, like not doing a thing. And then out of nowhere, like a second later, an ambulance goes past. But it's not stopping where any of the people got shot or anything. It's just there.
You know, it's interesting because, you know, with this, what they're now saying is that this guy was able to freely travel from this country to this country to this country and ended up down in Milan. And what they're saying now is, how do we stop this with everybody flowing through and through? There's got to be a way to track them. Well, we need to chip them, is what they say, to track them. So if they're going to start chipping individuals, and they're going to say, oh, we're going to start chipping these terrorists, anyone else, they're going to try and implement this widespread. You've heard it for the longest time. But if they're going to have people roaming about, the only way to do it with these open borders, well, how they say, is to literally chip them and track them. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if a lot of these individuals, because this is a dark army. You understand this? They're not using your red, white, and blue troops to go and do the dirty work here per the usual, or to go fight the rich man's war in another country, to do whatever it is. We've been to Iraq and all these other places in the open. But when it comes to getting in to doing the nitty-gritty stuff, they needed a new army. They needed to find a way to recruit from their own people. And they did it. And they honed in on the heart, what they believed in the most, the religion. And they hit the heart of jihad. And every young individual that stood and stands in the streets and watches heads get chopped off gets brainwashed with a certain mentality that you cannot break. You cannot bring them to America and just do away with that mentality. Or to any civilized culture. When humans can look at other humans and think that they're dogs. Okay? They are training them. I'm not speaking as all of Muslims here. I'm talking about what they're doing and honing in on these young Muslims and the whole thing of jihad. It's all they care about. Using that to their advantage. And they're fueling it. They're funding it. And they're sending them in droves in all these other places. And look at Albert Pike. What is Albert Pike? Their head leader of the Mason state. We're going to use the Muslims to go in and fight with the Christians to try to wipe them out. And in the end, how do you get rid of this massive onslaught that you just created, this big beast that you just created, this big army? We wipe them out with the atheists. And that's exactly what they're going to do. In the end, they're going to use them to their advantage. And then they're going to, that's their plan. That's what I'm telling you. This is what they have written. This is what they believe in. Just letting you know. So they let this fake group that they're fueling, this massive army that has billions in a war chest. They have oil fields. They have tanks. They have choppers. They have, get out of here. Get out of here. You ever think they would ever let something like this spring up and exist? You backtrack and you look, how did they get all their weapons? It was just sitting there waiting for them in Iraq. The whole thing was staged and set up. We know this. But this is the army now that they're using to wage the war on the people of every country. Of every country. And they sit there through your mainstream media and tell you all day long that it's what they're trying to beat. It's what they're trying to stop when it is what they created. Do you see? That's the truth. Your MI6, your Mossad, your CIA, all these alphabet gangs of the world, they have their hands on this upper technology that you ain't even seen yet. It's some technology that people can't even wrap their head around. and they're doing it together. So all this other stuff is just world stage theatrics. Because if there's ever a world leader that doesn't agree with them and doesn't want to go along with the game, like I've said before, they will kill them in the streets like they did Gaddafi. So, you know,
Yeah, there's no doubt.
It's divide and conquer, you know, in every country, and in all aspects. It's just to keep dividing them more and more and more and more and more and more.
Yeah, they're the ones fueling. They're fueling this conflict. It's the order out of chaos. So they created it. I wouldn't even be shocked to realize that the whole Gulf War and Iraq War wasn't to basically arm that region. They didn't bring any of that weaponry back home. They just left it there.
You're right. You're damn right.
Basically created the endless amounts of weapons that these people could get their hands on.
And you know what? It was self-funding, because you know what they said? They said, look what we just did. We just toppled Saddam, and guess what? Now we're going to set up shop. We're going to leave all the military equipment that you need sitting right here. You're going to come in and you're going to get it. And to keep funding yourself, this is what we're going to do. We're going to let you take all the oil fields down here. You're going to keep it. And they got it right now. Right now. They have it still. And what are they doing? They're selling it daily on the black market. And guess who some of the biggest buyers are? Israel, these other countries. I mean, are you paying attention?
Well, and we need to remember, too, that there were no weapons of mass destruction. That was their premise for going to war there. He claimed biological, nuclear components and everything. They found nothing there.
And don't you love how how they just create this left-right paradigm? Because coming off of the heels of 9/11, we had who was that dude that did the documentary, basically saying that it was all fake and there were no weapons of mass destruction, but that was coming from the left, so it didn't resonate with the right. And now that we're awake, it sounds like we're believing the same thing. But it's like they just change sides. They're like basically like they're actors. They just change sides. They change the issues.
That's the whole goal, was to have somebody propped up covering all bases. When the Rothschilds split, they were funding both sides of every war. Jacob was controlling one side. You know, see, they'd have another brother. One brother was, I think, seated in France, controlling it. They literally split up and went global into these countries and controlled them, controlling both sides of the war. They even cut a deal with Hitler during World War II to bring all the Jews to Israel, to get as many as they could there. It's
both sides of the chessboard.
Yes. You know, and of course, this is the stuff you never get taught in school. You get taught all this crap in school. The journey doesn't truly begin until you're out of there. And then you got to spend a couple years breaking loose out of some, spend decades trying to break loose of the chains and out of that mold that they brainwashed you with. And this is what they're still doing to your children today, teaching them that this whole thing here in this country began when Columbus sailed the ocean blue, when there's all kinds of history here before that, and all the other lies, you know. Whole thing obviously needs redone in a good way. It's kind of hard when you have leaders out there that are just deceptive, evil. This planet could be a utopia if you think about it. With the technology we got, riding around in self-propelled anti-gravity aircraft, having free energy, bringing water and plants to deserts, doing beautiful things, making it an ambition to go out of your way to see how much you could help save the planet, to make things better, you know, but no, we don't see that.
Yeah, there's three cardinal fears. Being cold or hot, not having enough food, and not having shelter. And when they control those three aspects of our reality, then they can basically get any person to sell out. if they take away any one of those elements. But if you give someone those three elements, which, by the way, just so happen to be our God-given rights, to have food and an abundant earth, have fruit trees on every corner, tomato plants and fields every other block, there should be abundant food, but instead they put grass and trees, things that can't give back to you other than their sight. And then they also take away your ability to stay warm and your ability to, stay cold and when it's hot. And so when they control those factors, that's how they get us all to sell out and go along with their agenda. And that's what Agenda 21 is about, controlling all the resources.
Yeah, and you can never let your guard down, guys. I noticed so many people right before this election thing were prepping, we're talking about prepping, doing this and that. A lot of the Trump supporters, when they hear that he won, they just kind of let their guard down. I'm warning you. You better not do it. You better not do it. You better still be planning. Anyone that's really serious about it, you are making moves. And I'm telling you, it's right when you think that everything's all good, it's when it hits, right when you least expect it. Okay, so.
And just because we have Trump as the new president doesn't mean that that's going to prevent anything from happening.
Exactly.
And
I
on
get to talk.
on that note, sorry to cut you off there, B, but
Do it up.
what was it today or yesterday? Putin and President-elect Trump have both declared that they're going to upgrade their strategic and tactical nuclear programs.
It's a puppet show, man. It's a freaking puppet show. We're with them at the North Pole, the South Pole, and in space. All the rest is a puppet show here.
Yeah.
That's all it is, man. I'm telling you, once you realize there's another species here that they are worshiping, that's giving them this technology and everything else, then you'll see they're doing this together. Together.
Exactly. And all we are is the lower pawns on the chessboard, and all the upper pawns are basically playing for the same side. They're all the same color.
All selling out because if one don't do it, then the next man to jump in the seat to get that mansion, the keys to the car, good life, all that other. It's that easy. Sell your people out.
Yeah.
If
And
the
what they're all
population
doing.
don't think that, if the population don't think that the other guy's got a bigger bomb, then, I'm talking about world
Right.
pop.
You're
And
right.
they would never stand for it, but we stand for it because we think that the other guy's got a bigger bomb. We're like, he ain't gonna have a bigger bomb. I'm gonna have a bigger bomb. To heck with that, dude.
You know what? I think that old Bush said it himself the best. He said if the American people knew what we did, they would lynch us in the streets. What does that tell you, folks?
Yeah, why don't we ever see these world leaders get in a ring together? I want to see them go out at with each other. They'll never do that because they got us to do it for them.
Right.
What type of ring are you talking about? UFC?
Yeah, I mean, that would have been fun to see Arnold Schwarzenegger go up against Donald Trump.
I want to see Arnold Schwarzenegger go against George Bush.
Yeah.
No, I say when we round them up, we do that. We vote to see who does the gladiator style type execution death matches. Yeah. We'll have these goons go into the ring. That's the punishment.
I was more so expecting this is Sparta kick from Schwarzenegger to Bush.
Let the lions
But
loose.
your option, I guess, is good too.
Let the lions loose on them. Let no man have to deal with it. They don't have to have the blood on their hands because that's what they're doing. They're not walking with the blood on their hands. I mean, essentially they are, but they're letting other men go and kill other people for them. They're not doing it themselves. Although they are a part of giving the orders, they're having other men pull the trigger and pull out. Pull off the job.
Man, that would be the reality show of the ages, televised. Put them in a 5 square mile wilderness area, fenced all around, with a couple lions roaming around in there. Put Putin in there. Put Assad. Put Trump, and then have it all filmed.
two things for that. One, you sound like you're about to be an author of a new Hunger Games book. Two, you know Putin would ride on top of the lion.
Yeah. Yeah, right. We've been fed so much crap. You'd find out quick they couldn't all even start a fire.
Putin would have the lion skinned and be wearing the fur within the first 20 minutes.
No, it would really.
Trump would be running off with the gold from the tips of the spears. Obama would be cleaning his fingernails.
and Michelle would win.
Right. She'd be walking out of there with all the swords.
She got the bigger one anyway.
Right.
Oh, bird.
But I'm bumped.
Probably literally too.
Man, that would be a sight to see.
Oh,
and I mean,
Michael.
think about it. I mean, yeah, we're laughing about it, but this is kind of serious. I mean, think of all the bloodshed these people have caused, and then they go behind closed doors, and they're all buddies and friends.
It's true. It's very true.
We got the power to throw them. We got the power to throw them in the hole, man. But nobody will do it.
It's getting enough people to say, okay. You can amass everybody, but you got to get everybody to say, okay, let's do it. I mean, you hear everybody talk about it all the time, but really, we need enough people to say, okay, let's do it. Somebody comes up with a plan, and they put a plan in front of you, like today is the day that you're walking into your capital, and you are going to become our mayor. You are going to become the chair. You are going to be our treasurer. You and people have got to be ready and ready to go in and start job. And some other guys got to be ready to step up and take the badge and be like, you're going in here. You're the new sheriff in town, and you're arresting them and taking them to the jail. You see, you have to have enough people. When you have, I always say it, the power's in the people, and the politics you address. The power is in your numbers. Just like when we hit the streets, these protests, do you know how many times we've seen the swells of people grow so large that we outnumber the cops? Then the cops can't do nothing. All they can then try to do is hop on bikes, try to cut you off, and try to control the streets. And even then, when it gets large enough, it's just out of control. They can't do nothing about it. And the power's in your numbers. And it's about righteousness. It's not about going out causing chaos, just flat out murdering people, doing things wrong. Go about it the right way. Carry a positive energy with you. With everyone. Then if they want to attack you as a group, being a massive unit of people, you make moves. As long as you don't break apart, you're strong. But that's the problem. They have divided you by religion, then down to left, then right, and then everything else.
Yeah, if 60 million people decided they weren't going to pay the penalty on not having Obamacare, they would have a problem. They can't put all those people in jail. They don't have the resources to try to collect all that money. So
that's when they start to try to bomb you, and they start to try to pull false flag events to try to shock you into submitting. You see? And with Ohio here passing this new gun law about being able to carry at campuses and everything to protect people, I'm telling you, I feel like it's an area the hand will try to target just to prove a point. Say, oh yeah, how safe is it now? I'm telling you, it's how they operate. Think about it. And
the concealed carry, basically it's an update to the current one, and it got more in depth. You could already carry on campus. You just couldn't take your weapon into class. And now it's still up to the professor and the dean of the school to even okay that, even with the law saying so. But it did definitely open it up. You can carry in libraries now. You can't take it anywhere with a metal detector that's government funded. But,
right.
The Employer Discrimination Act is probably the biggest, because in Ohio, an employer can tell you can't keep your gun locked in a car. So it basically took away your ability to conceal throughout the day, because now you can't take your weapon to work. But this changed, and now the Employer Discrimination Act in there allows you to tells them they can't tell you because your car itself is your personal property.
That's ridiculous, man. I mean, when you should be able to protect yourself, and I think laws that go across the state sweeping. I mean, people may need to think about where they're working, but I know some people don't have a choice. You into a situation where you can't protect yourself. I mean, if you would keep it in your car, like, you should be able to keep it in your car. I can understand if you're a certain place and they don't want weapons in it. But at the same time, you gotta look at where you're at and what that place is. Because I feel that the more people you got around that are legally carrying, I feel safer in a crowd full of them. With all my people armed right there. I mean, I would.
Believe it or not.
Right, because if a crazy is going to come in and start popping off shots, he's going to pop off shots regardless. Would you rather all be prepared or not?
Also, with the whole thing
no
with
law
will
stop him.
Also, the thing with Ohio now allowing get us out the cars and parking lots of jobs and stuff like that. Well, think about it like this: what if you were coming home from work and then you're at the gas station and somebody tries to rob you? Right there.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I mean,
good chance.
But if you were
mostly people are going to or from work, you know, when people stop at the store.
If you were going to work and you couldn't bring your gun and leave it inside your car in the parking lot, you'd have been defenseless. Completely defenseless. You could have lost your life.
All right. Well, see, they're going to have to, I think the places should have to amend and work with things like that. I mean, there's issues, you know, when laws are changed and companies have been doing things for so long, you know, they're going to have to make change. I also wonder sometimes, like, I've also seen, like, with the marijuana thing across the country, you have all these places making it legal, recreation, legal, and all this other stuff. But yet people say, well, I go into my job and I get piss tested. I'm going to get fired now still. So, but I go in there and argue all day long that it's recreational, it's legal here in this state, this and that, but I can still get fired. So like the same situation, company adjustments on if they want that there, you know, or, you know, per the law, you would think that things would be different, but that's where it comes down to companies. Like you said, with the guns, these different companies have a different say.
Yeah. Well, the thing with the urinalysis is basically if you're sober, it's very rare that it's going to still be in your urine. You know, it'll be, you know, follicles, skin, blood, but don't smoke pot on your way to work. You know, same as don't drink before you go to work. You know, especially if you're dealing with equipment now, you know.
Right. It's common sense stuff, right?
Right. It's common sense stuff.
And make no mistake, if anybody is unclear on where this whole gun thing is headed, there's nothing more that these elite want than to remove the guns from our country. They're just trying to find a way to do it. And I think they found the angle they were looking for. 14 million Americans on Social Security disability, another 20 to 30 million Americans on antidepressants, some kind of antipsychotic medications. They have the means to take the guns now as it stands. Now they're just waiting to enforce it. And they're going to kick it off with some kind of a false flag, some major event. And they're going to say, we have to take these guns from these crazy people. You notice something weird?
What if they allow all these people to have marijuana and then classify it as being a medicine, and meaning that any of you out there that have it afterwards, that you have a problem? Just like the guys coming back from Iraq, because you have a problem, so you can't have a gun.
That's why Obama won't change it from Schedule 2. Exactly.
When Kasich signed the medicinal law here last November, 2015, in Ohio, they actually put in books of stuff on how it conflicts with the gun laws. And I mean, it's actually extremely accepting, more accepting than you would think, at least here in Ohio. I don't study just about everywhere, but when I was reading into the medicinal laws, I'm like, holy cow. I mean, basically, as long as you don't have a J hanging out of your mouth, you can carry.
Well, in the legalization of pot, wherever it's been legalized, has driven the price down for the growers. So growers are not able to be nearly as profitable. Sometimes,
that's just with anything. They did it with tobacco too. Philip Morris and everybody came in. All the farmers got screwed.
Mm-hmm.
All the big shots came in, capitalized on the whole thing, took over big time, and that's why all the independent farmers and growers in California didn't want to see it go full blown in certain ways, because they knew that the big corps are just fomenting at the mouth, ready to swoop in.
Yep. I was looking at statistics in Washington, D.C. Price went down 40%. The value of pot for growers went down 40%. In other words, if they made $80,000 last year on their crop, they're only going to make like $40,000 or $50,000 this year. That's huge. And then you factor in water, like in California, where a lot of pot grows. Water is very expensive, and they're actually starting to charge people for water, whereas before, if you owned your own land, you could pull it up out of a well.
And see, that's ridiculous to me too. We live in a water world.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're just now starting to kick up these desalination plants on the coast, and it's like, you should have been doing this 20 freaking years ago. You know what I'm saying? Converting the salt water into fresh water. Duh. Like, come on, man. Like, so many things we could do if we walked in and just clean the slate. And we're like, look, this is what we're going to do. We could make so many great things happen. There's so many amazing things.
Yeah, some people I'm seeing in here saying grow your own pot, and the thing
Depends
is
on where you're at. They let you do so much, depending.
and it doesn't just grow anywhere either. Like,
Right.
you know, and then not to mention how many people have gardens. I mean, if people aren't going to grow a garden, they're not going to grow pot. I mean, maybe they would though. I don't know.
I mean, I have plans for after when the shit hits the fan that I'll definitely have for bartering purposes, painkillers. I mean, medicinal uses, of course. You got to grow it. So if you don't have seeds stashed in the back of your freezer for when shit hits the fan, it's a good idea to probably get.
Well, you know, the thing with marijuana, I've always thought was not just because it's weed. You know, I grew up in Tupac, Dr. Dre, chronic smoking era. You know what I'm saying? That's my days growing up. So it was a full blown thing, but it wasn't just like a weed thing to me of getting high. I seen the plant is providing so much more. I mean, with hemp, you do so much with it.
Change the world.
Clothes, it can so many ways. I mean, even in the Bible, it was talking about the rope they were using was hemp. When we were talking about the stories of Solomon, what was Solomon doing? He was making some of them demons weave the hemp to make rope, and you know it was key then. It could be key now. You know, it's very, very strong, and yeah, I mean, capitalize on it.
Government, dude. The U.S. government used to have propaganda films that would. I believe
still do, bro.
Well, I'm saying as far as you were required, if you had a certain amount of land in this country at a time, you know, before World War I, you were required to farm a certain amount of hemp for rope for the ships. And you could find those videos. You can look them up on YouTube, and you're like, holy crap, you know, they're like, you can tell they were like 8mm, you know, some real weird looking black and white.
I mean, dude, you could do something with every bit of the plant. I mean, there's a use for every bit of it. The Indians made use of it, every bit of it.
You guys do know that since you started with the conversation with weed, that there's a lot of eyes inside the chat that grew huge and the viewership went sky high.
Did you guys know somebody was saying in the chat too to grow your own inside the house? But I'll caution you about that. I had a buddy. I guess what happened.
I'm not telling anyone to do anything. It's gonna be illegal or get them in trouble.
Yeah, but that was just someone in the chat was saying grow it inside. Well, here's what happens. All those lights give off a signature. Your electricity bill as it goes up, all that's monitored by the powers that be. They actually will use that. The authorities will use that to raid homes, suspected homes.
Yep. They do that. Yeah,
they do that.
Yeah,
so you got to be careful about making grow rooms and stuff like that. I mean, in California, it's legal. You can actually have a grow room in California, a certain amount of plants.
Yeah, survival, man. I was talking about survival here in a video here recently. I was talking about that goal zero. I want to look into that.
Inked 420. Inner stars is full of crap. Why don't you extrapolate for us?
You good there?
Oh, they're just haters.
Yeah, when you guys were talking about the prepping and preparing earlier, it always goes past me to talk about preparing in videos and to people in real life, because I've made it so much part of my everyday life that there's no more emphasis on it, because it's part of I've made it a routine, everything. I don't leave without, my get home bag, or making sure there's a few extra things to drink, for everybody with me. And I completely forget to point it out, like, hey, you got gloves.
I just picked up that heirloom seed kit, man. That non-GMO. I put that in the video too, man. That was one I was wanting for a while. I'm happy I got it, because I just feel better.
Send me a link to where you ordered from, if you would.
Okay, I get it over to you. Yeah, it's
Sustainable seeds.
Yeah, it's non-GMO. I mean, it comes with everything you can think of, with pepper, squash, corn. I mean, there's so many, and it comes in a good little case, and it's just non-GMO heirloom, and it's good to have some, just for peace of mind. That's really what I was looking for. There was to get a whole thing together where if the lights do go out, we're ready. That's why I talked about the solar generator, for real. Having a way to cook, heat in your basics. And solar is expensive. It is. But it's something that I plan to kind of build on over time. And I also would like to try a windmill at some point. I think an ideal home is one that can feed off of all the elements, off the sun, off the wind, and even the rain. Exactly there, Jag. Rain gutter electricity. It was something I thought of a long time ago. I swear to you, I haven't seen it yet, and somebody should go patent it. Like, why didn't you? But put little spindles inside of your rain gutters. And as the rain's going down, the spindles will move. And if they're running to a source, you can generate power off of all the water flow. You see what I'm saying? And they have gutter guards these days. You can keep debris, because the only thing that would mess it up is debris. But if you had gutter guards on there and the water was flowing, and it had all those spindles in it, it would generate small amounts, but energy while it's raining. So when the sun's shining, you're getting power. When it's raining, you're getting power. And any wind, you're getting power. And I think if you can capitalize on all three of them and then try to get your daily life to fit within those means, you're good. Then you can disconnect, no more electric bill. Then maybe you can start generating energy, and actually you get a check back from the electric company, because there's people out there that do it. And hell, I was talking about Google here recently. They're doing it. That's how serious it is. They just came out and stated by 2017, they're at a point to where they're 100% covered. Their energy is. Can you believe that? Everything they do now is 100% covered, because they bought up enough windmill farms, enough solar plants, to where all the energy they generate is covered. They're bringing enough in. So all they got to do from here is buy a little bit more, and every single thing that they're bringing in there is positive gain, which is why I made the prediction. Watch out. I believe you're going to see Google in the energy sector here very soon, selling energy. And, the energy market itself, and this is something people miss because the mainstream doesn't talk about it, and it's something you got to kind of pick up on the back end. But the energy sector was very controlled for the longest time, and they just allowed people here a few years ago to be able to come in and break it down to where you could buy from not just like Duke Energy, but from other subgroups. They could get better deals on a large grouping of power, so to speak. And you could get it for set prices. A lot of people were getting rich on that until it started to pan out. But once again, it's one of those things you never hear about. It was one of those booms that came through. And whenever they have an industry that stays locked up and controlled, and then they open it up, It's deregulated, is what it's called. Deregulation. It was the deregulation of power at the time. Whenever that happens, that's when other companies have a chance to jump in and start doing what the big dogs were doing all the time, but offer a better deal to the people and make money at the same time. But
like Google Fiber.
We have your greedy cats. With Google Fiber?
Google's internet service that they provide.
Oh, well, there you go, down another avenue. The many tentacles of the Google octopus.
ABC Inc. They're in everything.
Everything.
Interesting to look into. I know last year I was looking at they were starting to have they were beta testing certain types of solar roads, which were really kind of I thought they were neat looking. They had LED lights.
I remember that. Yeah, yeah, right.
They would like warm. They had heat, so basically
melt the snow. You wouldn't have to salt the road. It would warm them up, and it would melt, and it would run off.
They're working on them in Silicon Valley, actually.
Yeah.
I think Casey's going to have to bail. Brother, I appreciate you joining us.
Good night, you guys. Yeah, I'm about out of battery. My cord's in the room. My lady's sleeping, so.
All right. Well, I appreciate you joining, man. I reckon we'll have the show back right here next week.
Yeah.
We'll schedule that, and then from that, after next week, we'll shift it back over to Casey's. And yeah, you have a good one, brother.
All right. Good night, guys.
All right, sir.
Much love, buddy. While we were speaking here on the whole survival and lights out and grid down thing, I want to remind folks, I talked about Obama signing an executive order about a solar flare type of event making our grid go down. What are you going to do when the lights go out? And I truly think that if you plan for a lights out situation, to survive a lights out situation, that's one of the best things that you could plan to do, is to survive an event like that. But we also have this talk here of solar storms affecting the U.S. power grid. There was talk here recently, and a story ran on RT about solar storms could affect the U.S. power grid. Well, then they updated saying that this wave already came through, that the NOAA actually reached out to them afterwards, must be watching like a hawk, and said that there is no threat. But, when asked about these waves of energy that are incoming, you can't get no damn answers. But Obama has made certain agencies within our government prepare for such an event, for our grid to go down from a solar flare. And not only that, he ordered them to make a device that mimics it so they could test it and a report back to him within 6 months' time the results of it. And I felt that kind of odd, because 6 months out from then, he wouldn't be president.
I was just about to say that.
So things to pay attention to. And I've got links for this down below. And I know many have heard about the signals we've picked up. The first one in 2001 coming from deep space, these blasts of radio energy. Well, here recently, they heard more. And what is very, very interesting about this is that they're coming from the same constellation. They're not coming from the same spot. Like down to the constellations are big. If we were sending out a signal, someone could say, oh, it's coming from the Milky Way, but what planet? Where? Around what star? Well, the constellation is Eureka. And now 6 new bursts of radio waves have been detected. And regardless of all the excuses of what they say it could or couldn't be, something's going on there in that constellation. And it's very interesting that those signals have all come from that spot. So a link in there for you guys as well to read. And there's some stories in here. I didn't have a chance to read all of them. Like I said, I'm trying to play catch up still from being on the road. But one that I dropped in there that B sent me was a Santa Claus robbing a bank. Where'd that happen at? Where did that happen at?
I can't think of it off the top of my head.
The details to it in the links in the description box, guys. But I thought that was.
I'll try to pull it up really quick.
I think he was giving away candy too, wasn't he?
He was giving away candy. to the bank tellers and to customers telling them Merry Christmas. Then he pulled out a note that asked for money, and then, of course, got the money and then left. That was in Memphis, Tennessee.
All right. And then we also had a hijacked airline that landed in Malta today. Did anybody claim anything to that or a connection to that? Like as far as a group?
I didn't see any updates on anybody claiming it. I know the guys gave themselves up after a little while, and
No demands, no message to get out or anything.
TMTT has a lot of information on that. He was covering that all of this morning.
Okay, and I have a link to that story
that means
in the description box.
That story will be detailed. TMTT has been doing extremely detailed reports, all over the spectrum, far more than what some of the other people are doing on those smaller reports.
Now, what's the deal here with the internet? This internet professional predicting the internet shutdown.
So basically, what that was Girls Gone Wild. So the dude, this dude does it. He's the cyber crime, internet security. He's got this massive long name, all right, over for Logarithm, and what they do is they create Logarithm, yeah. They create a real-time systems control security management system for event management. Basically, what they do is they detect these DDoS attacks in real time. There's no waiting for it to happen and collapse. Their systems can detect that. Now they've been talking about this thing for a while now, but so this guy's he's doing an interview with Business Insider Australia, and in that interview he mentions that because of the attack that we had seen recently, where they took down Twitter and a few other social media platforms for a few hours, that he said it would probably be pretty easy to take down the internet for something like 24 hours. Never, ever did this dude ever say that it was going to happen in 2017. He's just basically saying, as we were saying, that a solar flare can happen, or the grid can crash. He's just saying that it's possible, and pretty much here's my technology to stop that. So then it got snatched up by Business Insider here in America, where they changed a few words in the headline, and then it got snatched up by a few other people who totally fucking mangled it and turned it into a disaster. But
and now they're running.
Right. The truth of the matter is, I mean, you can go and read the guy's, read his own lips and see exactly what he said, and he did not say that. And if he did, so he's some random computer company VP, and he just said a few words that probably boosted their company beyond who knows. They have partnerships with Dell and multiple governments around the world to do this real-time event management system. So basically it's one of those things where he went out, said a few words, boosted his company. Now Logarithm is a thing. I mean, heck, even their ads are going across on responsive advertising on my. So they got stuff to sell, is what I'm getting at. Not going to get real-time responsive ads if the company ain't got nothing to sell me.
You're cutting out, B.
Yeah, you were breaking out bad there, but
Of course I
get
was.
the gist. Well, now that I got the scoop on that, I'm going to have to fix the title here of this because it says Internet Professional Predicting. So I'm going to.
Yeah, well, that's how it's been put out there, is that he predicted, but he didn't
Well, at
predict.
least he cleared it up and get to the bottom of it.
Right. Yeah. And I put out an article about that with and I went into detail. I went and visited him on his website. I actually even sent an email to Logarithm's press department asking for a statement from them, or the guy himself asking as to why he said that, and to clarify it. So we'll see what happens out of that.
All right. So I just updated the title. If anybody tries to come back looking for the video later or something by name. And I'm going to finish up here at the story about the DC Metro caught lying. You want to touch on that there for a second and everything going on there before we wrap it up?
Yeah. Well, for anybody that's curious, that's about Pizzagate. And, I decided I was going to look into whether or not the police department had did any kind of an investigation based on, clearly there's internet outcry for a pedophile ring going on at Comet Ping Pong. So I had requested, a report from them, and they had told me that they had had an investigation and that they deemed the story, the internet conspiracy, false. So then I filed for a Freedom of Information Act for the investigation report. And that's where things changed. Now I got an email from somebody else within the department telling me that there was never an investigation, and pretty much blocked communication from there on out. I have to fill out an appeal with the mayor of DC or the Supreme Court to ask any further questions on it. But what triggered me to do that was because Wikipedia has the Pizzagate conspiracy theory, that's what it's called on Wikipedia, is the Pizzagate conspiracy theory is debunked by Metro Police Department, the Washington, D.C. Metro PD. So now how could they debunk something
If there was no investigation?
It?
Oh, boy.
You see? Now we just went full circle.
Right.
So now they're caught. Wikipedia is caught for lying. DC Metro PD is caught for lying. It's a full. So who debunked Pizzagate now?
And for you to ask any more questions, you're going to have to request to go to the high Supreme Court, or
right.
This is ridiculous.
So I am appealing it to the mayor of DC.
I would to take it all the way.
Yeah. So if anybody wonders why my channel name is Brian now, that's why, because I was getting very poor response going after this kind of information with an alias. So I just switched from my shortened name, which would be Brian Richmond, to this. So if I know people are like, well, why is he Brian now? That's weird. That's why, because I needed to kind of ditch the alias for a few, so I can deal with these people and get some damn answers.
Wait, I didn't know your name was Brian.
Get out of here! Shut it.
I thought it was Brian.
Felipe. Go, Felipe.
Wait, why are you saying my name out in public to everybody?
The hell with Snopes. Don't you ever mention that word again in my chat, or I'm gonna ban your ass.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I'm just
Snopes
kidding.
also debunked it, but Snopes debunking falls back to the
Snopes.
DC Metro,
Sorry for my
claiming it to
language.
be false. See, that's where we're getting at. Nobody's actually debunked it. Everybody that goes back to the debunking goes back to DC Metro PD, claiming it to be false allegations. So I went straight to the source of the false allegations, the debunking of the. This should be all over the place that DC has no investigation. They never even looked into it. And when
It's huge. It is huge. It should be front page tomorrow morning everywhere. But
Yeah.
it won't be.
DC Metro brushes off, what it does. It can be conspiracy. It doesn't even matter what it is. It should be, if you have enough people screaming, hey, something funky's going on, put somebody on it. Put Barney Fife on it. Put Dewey from Scary Movie on it. Who cares? Put somebody on it.
Man, we need a lawyer out there. Where are you at? Damn it. You're late.
Where is he at? Why
we
is
need you. We need a lawyer on the team. We've needed one for the longest damn time. We need someone with some know-how, someone with some balls, and someone to go out there and handle things for us when we want to make moves. We need you. Quick, man or woman.
We're learning on the fly. We're trying to do this stuff on the fly and learn how to do it on the fly and following all the right steps. And it's tough, dude. It's really tough to try to figure out how to do it, But,
well, folks, I'm gonna we're past 9:30 here. I'm gonna wrap this up a little longer than I expected. Lost track of time there. Yeah, I mean, you continuing tomorrow night with your show, B?
you know what, dude? Probably not. I'm gonna do the whole. I'm gonna be Christmasing it up with the fam.
Oh, yeah,
if I do go live, it'll be a surprise.
Yeah, all right, yeah. So understandable. yeah, you never know when I'll be live. I got a lot of catching up to do here, still from being on the road, guys. Yeah, you never know what'll happen here over the weekend with me. May go live at random times, and I'm sure you'll be seeing videos popping off on both channels. Now that I'm back in the saddle, I want to give a shout out to everybody out there in the chat. And also thank everybody out there that's always sending information. If you guys get anything you want to get to me, hit me up, dabu7yahoo.com. Also, make sure you're following me on Twitter because putting a lot of stuff out over there, a lot of updates that you're going to miss if you're just following me on YouTube. Can't stress that enough. If someone shows up and drops a comment on a YouTube video, something just happened, why didn't you put a video out on it? Well, chances are I've said something about it or done something over on Twitter. So check there. And yeah, I hope everybody has good holidays, happy holidays, and a good weekend. And do you guys got anything you want to say before we check out?
No, I just want to say Merry Christmas. Thanks to everybody who helped out with that whole Christmas thing we just did. You know, I passed it along.
What'd you do?
Well, while you were away, we did a
dinner thing.
Yeah, we did a quick little fundraiser and did kind of a pay it forward, pass it on to people for Christmas dinner. You know, some people that most people don't think I read comments and chat rooms and stuff like that. So I pick up when I see people in the struggle, you know, when they're talking about it. And it just hit me, you know, I don't like to see people in the struggle even more through high stress times like the holidays. And I'm like, well, maybe there's something we can do about it. And, you know, we kind of did it all real incognito like, and, you know, nobody really knows where the money went or who it came from, but collected around, you know, almost $500 and split it up and sent it out there.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was you know,
Heck yeah.
everybody that contributed, you know, people are thinking about you.
What goes around comes around. You know,
that's right.
Think about it. I mean, I know you can't always, you know, pick up the hitchhiker on the side of the road or do this or something, but you can. There's times where you can't hold that door for an individual, or you ain't got anywhere to be, and pull over and help somebody with that flat tire or something. It's something. What goes around comes around. You got to be positive. You got to put it out there. You got to remember that, guys.
It's just positive thinking, sending positive vibes, and you know, we're trying to, you know, lead by example. If we want people to help people, we got to help people, and we got to try to gather that feeling of let's help one another.
Right.
You know, if no one else is going to be like, hey, let's do it, I'll do it. And if it don't work, it don't work. On to the next thing, you know. But we'll always be trying to go and help somebody put their life back together when it falls apart, if it's within reach.
And that's the thing too. If we're not there for each other, I'm not saying just us as the people that's inside of this hangout and those that are listening, but I mean as a complete. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
people
humanity, society,
yeah, humanity, yeah, right.
And who do we have to rely on? We have what? The government. We got little vouchers.
Should never be like that.
Right. And you know, we want to do away with them, and the only way to do away with them is to you know, do it ourselves. You know, you can call it welfare, you can call it goodwill. I would rather call it goodwill and just go out and help people.
I call it should be small government, not big government.
Yeah.
And you should be getting your food from not the government on Obama's food stamps, but from farmers. See? From your own communities. And
I agree.
Depending on those people. But
we've outsourced our basic necessities to a government and corporations that don't even care what they give us. You know, we've outsourced it for comfort. It's like you were talking about earlier, you know, or Casey was with the food, you know, cold and warmth, we've outsourced it. You know, hunger, we outsourced it. Drinking, we outsourced it. We outsourced all of our comfort to somebody. And that's another reason why we don't march on DC, because we'd have to leave that outsourced comfort of our house. And we know that if things even got remotely tough, we'd lose our comfort in a second. Job gone, gone, internet gone, everything gone.
Well, see, that's the thing. None of that needs to go gone all the way. There has to be a way to just replace people.
There
Yeah.
is a
Well,
way.
you get it back. You get it back. You just have to sacrifice for that short period of time. Because remember, we're the people who run the machines. We
Right.
run the show.
Exactly.
Right.
You got to remember too. Before we had taxes, we had roads,
That we did.
schools.
We had fish.
Yeah.
And we had coconuts.
Wait, there was fish.
Yeah, there was fishes. The fishies.
I thought they came after the 1920s.
After the cow jumped over the moon.
Oh, that was real?
Of course it was. Where do you think
Oh,
cheese
too much
came
fun
from?
with this.
Gosh.
Fun.
And you guys be safe out there as well in your travels because today, a lot of traveling going on this weekend. So make sure you guys are safe out there. And yeah, we're going to shut it down here for the night. And we will see you guys on the flip side. Much love.